When does this nightmare end? Boy, I don't know. It just seems to be getting crazier and crazier. I mean, really. The question that I would ask, instead of when does this nightmare end, I would ask myself, where is the nightmare least bad in the world today? And I think what we're dealing with across the globe is a nightmare, but there's certain degrees of how bad the nightmare is. And so I'd be thinking about where it's going to be um, more manageable, not just in the next 6 months, but the next 2 or 3 years, something like that. And keep in mind, I mean, just trying to be a realist. I'm not trying to be like doom and gloom or anything. A lot of people accuse me of that, but it's really not my angle. I just try to call it like I see it. And if I see something's jacked up, I'm going to say, hey, this is screwed up. And, unfortunately, I see the economy as being fundamentally flawed. And I see the war on our personal liberties accelerating so quickly that you just got to call it like you see it. That said, I think that I don't want people to lose sleep over it. But look, I did it on one of my past videos a couple weeks ago, something like that. I did just a little background history back to 2003 to see how many of these, I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, but how many of these potential cerveza sicknesses, it's called that, we've had since 2003. And when you include the cerveza sickness, we've had like 10 of them. 10. So in the last, call it, 18 years or whatever, we've had 10 of these things. So let's just assume that continues. So that means that every 2 years, we're going to have another potential scare. And now that the government has set a precedence over how they handle a potential cerveza sickness. And I'm not saying that in 2 years or a year and a half from now, we're going to have another cerveza sickness, but we'll probably have some sort of, swine flu come up, or bird flu, or what H1N1 type thing. And I'm not saying that it's going to be near as bad or anything, but I am saying that the governments now we know their standard operating procedure. So in the future, after what we've just been through, I mean, isn't that going to be the default for governments if they hear of, let's say, swine flu 2.0 or something like that? In China, you don't think that California is going to go into lockdown if they have, and they're going to shut down all the flights from China or something like that, assuming that we've got the cerveza sickness in the rearview mirror? I mean, I don't know. And I hope it doesn't happen, but I think that these lockdowns, they're going to be something that we're going to have to live with. I don't know, maybe for a long, long time, especially in the United States and the developed worlds. Now, you go to a place like Tanzania, probably not going to have to deal with them. They're not even dealing with them now. So I'm not saying that's good or bad. It just is what it is. So you get my point, in that I think we've got some things that I'm not saying lose sleep over it, but I am saying be cognizant of how the world is changing, right? You don't want to whistle by the graveyard. And so have a plan B. And, if I could not leave the United States, like I've said a million times, the first thing I would do is hit Craigslist, eBay, and I would buy a cheap RV, get a little Shasta, some kind of retro fun, and put it in your driveway. In the interim, I'd Airbnb it, if that's still legal, if you could still do that. But I would Airbnb it, stock it with food. I'd put my 97, diesel crew cab, F350, hook it up. And if it just gets crazy, I'm out. I'm headed to Montana. I'm headed to the mountains. I'm done, and I'll just figure out a way to be self-sufficient up there. And I'll just watch it from a distance. That's kind of the backup plan. But I think an even better strategy, or maybe even in addition to that, would be to try to get that second passport or residency visa if you can. So you've just got options there. You've got mobility. There's no downside in it, right? There's no downside to have mobilities, to where if you don't like what's happening in your local area, you can check out. You can go to the next state over. You can go up to the mountains, or you can even go to a different country. And so that's how I kind of, I don't know what the nightmare is going to look like in 2 or 3 years. Hopefully there won't be one. Hopefully this will all be behind us, and everything that I'm saying is just worrying about nothing, much ado about nothing. That would be fantastic. But if it is, and you have a plan B, so what? There's still no downside in it. So that's what I'd suggest thinking through, is just the probability of what we're seeing now getting worse, and then looking around the globe to try to determine, or even from the standpoint of the states themselves, like how they're handling this, and to just determine where the nightmare, if we continue life as it is right now, which I would consider a nightmare, where it's going to be least bad.